like I said, it happens, and hopefully some kids can learn from it, but just don't get caught.
I'm down to dunk.
And I'm down to dunk. I'm down to dunk.
This is J-Dub, and I'm down to dunk.
I'm Shea Gilgeous-Alexander, and I'm down to dunk.
This is Lindy Waters, and I'm down to dunk. I'm Mike Muscala, and I'm down to dunk.
This is Jay Will, and I'm down to dunk.
This is Kenneth Williams, and I'm down to dunk.
This is Lou Dort, and I'm down to dunk.
We say this is Lou Dort, and I'm down to Dort.
This is Lou Dort, and I'm down to Dort.
Cracklin Oat Bran?
Have you had Cracklin Oat Bran?
No,
No. Okay.
but it's healthy.
You a big oat brand guy?
I'm a big Oat Bran guy.
Okay.
I think I would switch it with Fruity Pebbles.
Okay, eat faster. Don't put as much in the bowl.
You have a gallon of milk I can also take home.
You don't have milk at home?
One cinnamon toast.
Okay.
Crunch. Yeah. Cereal is great. Yeah.
Welcome to Down to Dunk. I'm your host, Andrew Schlecht. We're part of the Athletic Podcast Network. With me, as always, on Wednesdays is my good friend, Alex Speers. Alex, what's up?
What's up, Andrew?
We've got NBA free agency just around the corner.
Yeah, what's the schedule on that? When does that? I know it starts on Friday, but what time?
Yeah, I think it's 6 p.m. Eastern.
Oh, 3 p.m. Pacific.
Yeah.
Middle of my day.
Middle of your day. We're going to start hearing a lot of things about a lot of teams.
Yeah, what do you think will be the first announcement made? It's already set in stone, ready to go.
Chris Middleton back to the Bucks.
Back to the Bucks on like a 4-year, $140 million deal or something.
Yeah, could be. Yeah, I don't know how many surprises there are going to be. I mean, I would guess that another one that'll get done really fast is Draymond Green back to the
Okay,
Warriors.
what about first guy to sign with another team that is announced?
I mean, like Dylan Brooks to the Rockets just feels like a low-hanging fruit.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
You think that's already signed, sealed, and delivered?
I kind of do. I kind of do think that's ready to roll.
I'm going to be so fascinated if they really do splurge, because that's what Zach Lowe said on Lowe Post yesterday. He was like, everyone knows what Houston's going to do. They're going to splurge.
Yeah.
If they really did bring in like Dylan Brooks, Van Vliet, and Brooke Lopez somehow, and then Udoka plays all those guys like 30 plus minutes a night.
I was talking about this on Slam and Jam. Like, you just drafted probably, if you were just to stack up talent, the most you had the most talented draft of anybody.
Not just talent, but I think, well, maybe not with Cam, but like fit wise, like Amen is kind of like,
oh, he's
as
great.
good of a fit as they could have.
Oh, they
gotten.
needed a guy like that so badly.
Yeah.
Somebody that's unselfish, that's crazy athletic, that can play defense. Like, yeah, he's amazing. And then they're gonna screw it up. Promise. They're gonna screw it up.
I can't wait to see what it is. I'm very interested.
They're gonna find a way to screw it up. And it's annoying because if they could just remain patient, and sure, you can go sign some like defensive infrastructure type of guys.
Yeah.
That would be good. That would be really good for them. But they're going to screw it up. They're going to try to find guys that are going to help them be good next year. And when you look at the West, like, this is not the time to try to do it. I mean, Utah is already a lot better than you, and they just got John Collins. Like, you think, like, what are the chances of them even realistically passing Utah next year?
It would be tough.
Like, not good. And Utah might not make the play-in.
They're certainly not a shoo-in. I mean, somebody's going to have an injury, but really the teams that you would question at this point. It's like outside of Houston, you're looking at Portland and the Spurs.
Yeah. I
And the
was gonna say,
Spurs are even like, who knows how good Wemby can be.
yeah.
And that's it. That's the end
Yeah,
of
they
it.
may not be like 20 wins bad. They may be 27 wins bad.
Yeah.
That's not that bad. And then like Portland could be really bad. They could be really, really bad
It
with
could be.
what could unfold in the next few days, because like the mandate from Dame is like, great, we want to build it and build it in the next 2 weeks. And if you don't, we're gonna have to have another conversation.
I was thinking about, I know no one wants to hear about Dame anymore, but I just finished Jake Fisher's book from a few years ago called Built to Lose, about the NBA's tanking era. And there's like a huge section in it on the baby Lakers, which like I didn't really think of them as a tanking team at the time.
Yeah.
Because like all of the public facing messaging from them was always like, we're going to find someone to bring in for Kobe. Like, you know, these are like the final years of Kobe Bryant's career. We're going to find someone every single offseason. It was like, who are the free agents LA's going to get? And that was like when they had the terrible free agency pitch to LaMarcus Aldridge. That was like that era of time.
Yeah.
And you look back at it though, and like, what were they actually doing? Like they were collecting really good assets. Like they were drafting super well, getting like
they drafted so well.
Julius, they literally hit on almost every single pick.
Yeah, they really did.
Elo, like Kuzma, Clarkson, Nance. And I look at what Portland's doing, and I kind of wonder if they're doing the exact same thing, because you look at the changes they've made, like since Neil Olshey. Like, well, they brought in Mike Schmitz, who's maybe one of the most connected people in the draft world. They've significantly boosted their scouting department, and now they have a G League team. Like all of their decisions that they have made over these last 2 years are the type of decisions you would make if you're trying to build an infrastructure for like a rebuild and the next era of your team.
Yeah.
Outside of like the Jeremy Grant trade, like everything else they've done has kind of been laying the groundwork for this. And so I kind of have to give them credit. Like if this does quote unquote work out for them, like which I don't know if this is necessarily what they want, but if like Dame does eventually ask out and they trade him, like they have done the groundwork to like make this all work. Like it will look really good. The second he's gone, I think everyone, like Blazers fans, will realize, hey, we're actually in a really good spot. Like, it set us up really nicely.
I mean, that's why if I'm them, I try to leverage Dame against a couple different teams, because there will be a few different teams that'll really want him, and just squeeze them for every last draft pick.
And for me, it's like it has to be Brooklyn. They're the only team that has the pick assets that I would be interested in.
Yeah.
Because they have all the Suns pick. They have a Philly pick. They have like, they got some juicy stuff.
The Suns picks are going to be so valuable.
Yeah, that would be like probably my priority, because I just don't know which young good player you're getting back from Dame. Like it's hard to find that type of package.
I would do just like what Presti did originally, and like don't even stress at all about getting back good young players. Just get picks.
Well, yeah, like the Harden model.
Yeah, I mean that's what Sam did. I mean, outside of Shea, and that was like a very unique situation, because not only did he get Shea, he squeezed them for all their draft picks too. But with like Westbrook and everybody else, the priority wasn't to get
Kelly Oubre.
To get some good young pieces, but it was to squeeze them for every last draft pick that they could.
Yeah.
And like that's what they should do, especially with the new CBA and how that's coming into play, and how if you're a team in the tax, the only way you can add to your salary is like re-signing your players or your draft picks.
Yeah. Yeah, my priorities would be getting off of Nurkic's contract and then getting as many picks as I could.
Yeah.
If you can accomplish those, like they're not going to get like 100 cents on the dollar. I don't think they're going to get the equivalent of the KD trade. Like that was really like a perfect storm event for the Nets. But if you could literally get the KD trade by getting those picks from the Nets, I think that it would end up being okay.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I think they should do that.
By the way, speaking of the Suns,
Mhm.
Bays did not get a qualifying offer, apparently.
I am not surprised.
Well,
They-
I'm surprised just because everyone made it seem like they're just going to sign all their bird rights guys and just to have something. And they did it for Jock Landale and Saban Lee.
I think Jock Landale can play in the playoffs.
I think, I mean, based on their current roster, I think Bays can play in the playoffs. Because who else?
They obviously think differently.
Yeah.
I think it might be end of the line for Bays in the NBA.
End of the line, really? You think out of the league? Or maybe like two-way or something?
Yeah, maybe two-way. Yeah.
Man, oh, man.
I think that's totally possible.
Man, oh, man.
It's a shame. All right, we've had some time to think about Kason. Any other leftover NBA draft thoughts?
Any other NBA draft thoughts? I still kind of feel like I did at the beginning and of this whole process, just feeling like as much as I liked a lot of the guys in this draft, I didn't feel like there were a ton of clear, obvious fits for this Thunder team where they are right now. However, I definitely do think Kason would fall into that.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, I tweeted about it, just like for all of our talk about like how much they tend to like, upside projects.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe the most surprising thing about this pick was just how like much sense it does make. I mean, I know there is a segment of the fan base that's freaking out about, they took another guard or whatever. But if you just get past that, like everything else makes sense in terms of what the Thunder are looking for. And there aren't a ton of other players in this draft that really hit or checked as many boxes as Kason did. And I saw Brandon Raybar tweeted out yesterday, which I thought that was pretty amazing, that there were only 2 players over 6'8" that were taken after OKC's pick. So for all the talk about like wanting to, we need a big guy, they didn't exist. They weren't in this draft.
Yeah.
Like in terms of first round talent, I forget who the 2 guys. It was Derek Lively, and I forgot the other guy who's over 6'8". I think Jet Howard was exactly 6'8". So I'm thinking of like who?
Or Noah Clowney, probably.
Yeah, it was Noah Clowney. Yeah, Noah Clowney. That's kind of amazing. And when you put it in that context, it's like the guy that that segment of the fan base would want. He wasn't really there. Like unless you wanted Lively, and we discussed Lively a few weeks ago, like what would be the merits of that.
Yeah.
But if you couldn't buy into that, there really wasn't a big unless you were willing to move up. Yeah. And it just seems like there weren't a ton of options to move that far up. I mean, the only move up we saw was from 8 to 7, right?
Yeah. Yeah. And honestly, I just don't think Lively was going to be the kind of big that you'd want to take. They're going to try Chet at center this year. They want to see what that looks like. And if I'm them, that's what I would want to see too. Like, I want to see what Chet looks like at center. Does it guarantee that Chet is like the center of the future for the team? I'm not sure that it does. Maybe, I mean, I just think that my guess is that they just don't even know what they have yet. And all they did was add to the flexibility of the roster, adding Kason to the team. He can play up a position just because he plays really hard. I just think that they just don't, honestly, they don't know. Maybe Chet, maybe they do find something with small ball lineups and Chet as the center, and this is what they need. Great. Maybe they figure out over the course of the season that, boy, we need somebody bigger, but they have to be able to shoot to play with this roster.
Well, I was thinking about
invest resources into that.
What San Antonio is doing, because Wemby, at least like in the pre-draft process, there were the reports of like he doesn't really want to play center. That's not what he wants to do.
Yeah.
And they have someone like Zach Collins, who at the end of last season, Pop basically said he's going to be our starting center going into the year.
Yeah.
I do wonder if there was a player like Zach Collins, like prospect version of Zach Collins in this draft, instead of Derek Lively, would they have been interested in that sort of a player? Because he is like just looking at his stats last year, he averaged 11, 6, and 3. 11, 6, and 3 assists per game.
Yeah,
Shot 37% from 3. Now on not a ton of attempts,
Yeah.
2.38 per game. But like if that sort of center was there, would they have been more interested? I don't know. But yeah, you compare him to Derek Lively, and they're very different types.
Yeah.
Of players.
My guess though is like what center in year one comes in and like really helps?
Well, I think we're going to see that with Dallas. Like I think that's why you're seeing the rumors about them still going after DeAndre Ayton. Like I don't think they took Derek Lively with the idea that he is going to be our starting center.
He can't be. He couldn't be.
It'd be tough.
And he couldn't with the Thunder either. I think if they need to, I mean, look at like bigs right now. I think Atlanta would love to just give away Clint Capella like they did with John Collins.
Yeah.
He can't. They can't give him away right now.
they literally did just give away someone.
I know. And that
is the point they're at.
Yes. And that is going to happen more and more. And the guys that are going to be the most easy, or not most easy, the guys that are going to be the most available to give away are like overpaid bigs. And the Thunder will be able to get one of those guys for next to nothing. So the stress about we got to have a big man, like let's just see this play out for a season. And if that may be true. It may be true that they need to do that. And maybe Chet looks actually really good as a power forward.
Next to center Poku.
But if they decide that, hey, what we need is a big, I bet you're going to be able to get one next season. So to me, it's just, it doesn't make sense to stress about it now or to even try to fulfill that through the draft, because I think like similar to Perk or to like the Tyson Chandler trade that came before Perk.
Nanad.
I think Nanad. I think if you want to bring in a big to really help, it's got to be like a veteran.
Probably. Yeah. I guess just reflecting on the draft, it became more clear to me, especially after that tweet from Brandon, like this really wasn't the draft for them to get the big that we kind of like all theoretically want.
Yeah.
Unless you think they could have moved up. And there's just really no indication that anyone was really had a decent shot to move up.
Yeah. And even even Jarris though, like if let's say they did make a trade to get 7.
Yeah.
And they are able to get Jarris. Like Jarris, I think he's got a really bright future ahead of him. Is Jarris Walker coming in and changing the level of physicality in Oklahoma City? Is he coming in and like changing everything for them from the big position? Like the answer this next season is no.
Not if he keeps taking those floaters.
The answer is no. So to me, I really like what they did. I kind of wanted them to take a guard. And I'm glad they did, because I do think that they need to get better at that position, even though they have a lot of really good players there. I think because of how flexible the roster is and the fact that you can play J-Dub at the 4, like, why don't we just add more skilled players rather than getting players that are less skilled but are bigger and stronger? Why don't we just add more skilled players? Because those are the guys that are the hardest to get. Those are the guys that cost the most. Those are the guys that are most valuable in trade, are the skilled guys. And so just add to that and figure
clearly,
it out.
like in this draft, there just weren't a ton of those guys. Like the guys who truly do not take that much off of the table and could seamlessly fit into this Thunder roster.
I mean, at 10, which is where the Thunder picked, let's go through it. Like, who else was it? Like, Jet Howard? No. Derek
Buffkin, your boy, he would work.
Grady Dick? No. Jordan Hawkins? No. Buffkin? Yes. Keontae George? No. Hoodscafino? You could quibble. He could quibble
if you like him.
If you like him. What did what's his name say? Jalen not good something? I don't know. D draft. Um,
Oh yeah, he said Jalen not good, Shafino.
yeah, this is such a
Yeah.
terrible joke. Like Jaime Jaquez is like a role player. Pajemski's a role player. Cam Whitmore is like not that guy at all. But
Yeah, like Pajemski theoretically fits. I mean, like he could have played
he
on the
can,
Thunder.
he can do a little bit here and there. But like,
But you're not taking him over Kason.
yeah, you're not taking him
10
at
or 12.
10. Yeah, it's a lot of role players. It's a lot of combo-y guards. It's a lot of tweeners. Yeah, there's not really any bigs, and like all the skilled guys went at the top, and this kind of shows you like where the value is. Like obviously, like Wemby, Brandon Miller, Scoot, but then it's the Thompson twins, it's Anthony Black. Like those three, like represent like the big playmakers, like the big like guard wing playmakers of the draft, and they were just like all gone like that.
And I'm interested. I have not started thinking about the 2024 draft, but I'm interested. The one thing I would be interested in knowing is how that class stacks up just positionally compared to this one. Because this draft class did have a lot of wing depth. It was just all concentrated, like wing and big depth. It was all concentrated in those first, 9 picks or so.
Yeah.
And then after that, it did become kind of a smaller draft.
Yeah.
I'd be interested in knowing what next year's looking like. Because obviously they're going to have, I don't think they're going to be able to get rid of all these picks. They're probably going to draft a couple guys in next year's draft. And I wonder if it'll be a better opportunity to grab a random big. Like a Filipowski.
Yeah.
Kyle Filipowski.
Yeah. I don't know. I don't know much about that draft yet at all. And honestly, like what we know about that draft today is going to change so much by December that I just don't even want to know yet.
You don't even want to know. I'll tell you. Hey, Adam Bona, he's going to be in it.
Oh, Bona boys.
He'll be back. Zach Edey, he'll be back.
Yeah, Zach Edey will be back.
There actually will be a lot of returning guys.
Yeah,
in that draft.
Yeah,
which makes sense. I wonder if anyone will reclassify from the next draft because it would seem like a good class to do that for. And honestly, I wonder, gosh, if Gigi Jackson had just stayed, maybe not at South Carolina. I mean, that was probably his first mistake choosing that program. But if he had chosen a better program, chosen, and then stayed 2 years and been in next year's draft, I feel like he would have had a much better shot to be like at least a first rounder.
I think the same could have been said for Amani Bates, though, and it got worse.
Yeah, but Amani is like so skinny that you wonder like why it ever was a thing. Like he would have had to have been such an elite shooter.
I just wonder if Imani would have come out in the draft and not gone to Eastern Michigan or wherever it was. Was that where it was?
Eastern Michigan.
And not gone to Eastern Michigan. If he would have gone in like the 30s
last year.
Uh-huh.
Just having that like short time in Memphis.
Yeah, where they're just being like murky and it's like, well, we just don't really even know and like what he did, and then you got to see him at Eastern Michigan, like, oh okay, like confirming everything that happened. I feel like Gigi could have like confirmed everything that happened at South Carolina, and then just like, okay, now he's like the 50th pick.
But it was also clear like he was in an awful developmental space at South Carolina. Like if he had just been on the G League Ignite, I feel like you would have at least known more.
Yeah.
Because he would have had to play more of a role instead of just like here, you're in charge of a college basketball team at age 17.
Yeah.
But yeah,
in Memphis, I think is a good situation for him. They've done really good developing players there. So
sure. I don't know. I feel like there's
a lot of also weirdness around the way they handle their roster. Hopefully they're learning their lessons. And
they traded for Marcus Smart.
And enough time for
pretty legit trade.
You don't like it?
No, I do. I really do.
Okay.
No, it's absolutely the kind of trade that I think makes sense for where they were at.
Yeah.
Yeah, I much prefer that to them like bringing in 4 more rookies.
Yeah.
Especially at the cost. Like it was what, Tyus Jones and 2 picks, I think.
Yeah. I think it's
Yeah.
I think it's a fine trade. I think
I
he'll
think
help
that's
them.
solid.
I think he'll help them. You excited for Thunder Summer League? Starts Monday.
Yeah, it's Salt Lake City to
Salt Lake
start.
City.
Um,
I heard Salt Lake City is the place to be, man. It's a place to be.
you going?
I'm not going. Not going. I'd like to be there.
Yeah.
I would. I don't know this for sure because they haven't released the rosters, but I would guess it's going to look something like Chet, J-Dub, Oos.
You really think all those guys are going to come back? I mean, I get
play?
Oos, but
Gonna play
you think
Summer
like J-Dub's going to play?
He already said he is.
Oh.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, like we talked to Mark about it on Saturday. He's like, yeah, he's gonna play.
Okay.
It's gonna be like watching a real team. It's gonna feel like it did back in like 2009 or whatever, when you had all these guys playing on your summer league team.
Robert Vaden
is super stacked.
Dwight Bikes.
Yeah, it's gonna be like the Dwight Bikes year. But yeah, I think all those guys are gonna play. Yeah, probably like Jay will probably play as well.
Okay.
Well, that would
Well,
be my guess.
as far as like players that I'm actually interested in watching, I mean, it'd be cool, whatever, to see J-Dub. Cool to see Chet.
What do you mean, whatever? I don't. I'm a little perplexed at your attitude toward this.
Well, it's just because like we do this every year, and we act like summer league's this huge thing, and then it comes and goes, and we forget about it, and in the moment we even say like, oh, this doesn't really mean anything. And so, like, when I think about players who actually could potentially change the way I feel about them, it's not Chet, it's not J-Dub. I think honestly, the only player in terms of returning players is Usman Jang. Yeah. He is the player I'm most interested to watch because I think, in fact, last night, Andrew, I went back and watched every field goal attempt for Usman Jang last season. It's not that it didn't take me that long. There's only 180. I took 180 shots.
Yeah.
And there was a lot of missed threes. I think. In fact, how many players do you think took a larger percentage of their shots from three than Us
on the team?
Yeah, on the team last year.
Oh, probably not that many. I don't know, like 4.
There's 3. It was Moose, Isaiah Joe, and Lindy Waters.
Okay.
Fourth on that list was Usman Jang, 54% of his shots. So I watched a lot of clanked threes.
Yeah, he took almost 100 threes.
Yeah. And yeah, I mean, the thing that sticks out watching Us is just, I would call it settling. How often he settles for like this floater on his drives. I was looking at his stats on cleaning the glass. It is pretty wild how much of his value last year came from what he did in transition.
Oh, great news. Breaking news. Victor
Wembanyama
is not playing in the Sacramento Summer League. He's playing in Vegas.
Oh, okay. So he is playing.
Which is great news.
That's great news for you. That is gonna be a packed house, Andrew.
Insane. It was insane last year for Chet.
Yeah.
I'm just telling you.
Are you gonna be able to get tickets?
You won't be able to get tickets.
Are you specifically?
Me? Oh, I mean, I've got a credential, so I'll get in. But
good for you.
But yeah, Wemby is. I mean, it's like Mickey Mouse. It's like the Easter Bunny. It's like Santa Claus. Like he's just like this like larger than life like character that like people like worship and like just walk around him, and he's just.
And you're going to be there for Jeremy Sohan.
Almost floating around. I will be. So he was at the draft too. Had purple hair.
Yeah, I saw him. He hugged Wemby.
Yeah. Teammates.
Yeah, but so cleaning the glass, you can do on off and then break it down by transition and half court. And so obviously this is context. You know, there's context here because it's based on who else was on the court with you. But Usman Jang, a ton of his value came from what he was able to do in transition, which shows up in his watching all of these field goal attempts.
Yeah.
Because he's very good at getting out in transition. When he does catch the ball on the run, he's pretty good at finishing as well. In fact, I was looking at his dunks. So he had 17 dunks last year. In terms of dunks per minute, I did do the math. He was second, only behind J-Dub.
Wow.
A lot of dunks, which helped his at the rim percentages. He did very well around the rim last year.
Yeah.
But yeah, when you look at these on-off numbers, how much better the team is in transition when a certain player is on the court. Shea is number 1. JRE, interestingly, is number 2, and then Oos is number 3. You go down to the bottom of the list. You know who the worst player? Well, not necessarily the worst, but when he is on the court, the team's how they do in transition is affected the most negatively. Who would you guess?
Which player on the Thunder?
Yeah, when he's on the court, their transition offense goes in the tank.
Oh boy.
Who do you, and it's not like, is it not Bays? If that's what you're gonna say. Bays was third worst.
Bays was third.
It was not Bays.
JRE. I don't know.
I literally just said Jerry was number 2 in terms of best.
I'm sorry.
Oh my god. No, it's Kenrich.
Kenrich.
He's in the 9th percentile, and Josh Giddey is in the 14th percentile.
I was gonna say Giddey just because it felt counterintuitive.
Yeah, and I think Chet's going to help out with this a lot. He was a incredible transition player at Gonzaga.
Yeah.
And
yeah, he was.
If you put him on the court with Oos, I think you could get something special. But it's not just transition offense, transition defense as well. Oos really shined too.
Interesting.
So all that to just say that like a lot of his value came in transition last year, which makes sense. I mean, a lot of young players do better in transition when they first come into the league because it's a little bit more wide open,
Yeah.
But yeah, watching how he would either attack closeouts or just attack when he gets the ball at the perimeter against a set defense, how often he it looks like he runs into an invisible wall.
Yeah.
The second he feels contact, and then he immediately goes up and shoots one of these floaters. And it's hard to parse out how bad he actually is on those shots, because if you look at, they're called driving floater shots. Mm-hmm. And I know that the NBA tracking data isn't perfect. But he actually shot if those are the shots, he shot 10 for 19 on those shots, which is obviously very good. He was really good around the rim as well. Now, a lot of that was dunking, but he was really good around the rim. He was one of their best finishers around the rim last year, even though in my mind, there were a lot of really bad misses. And those are still on the highlights, but he was still a very good finisher around the rim. So I guess what all this is to say is in Summer League, I think we could potentially learn something just in terms of his process. Because the best highlights for Usman last year going through these were the times when he would attack the rim and not settle for that floater. And he would actually get to the rim and usually dunk because he's 6'10" or whatever.
He's giant.
When he had those plays,
7'5".
What's that?
According to reports, 7'5"
in height.
I'm just joking.
Wow,
just joking. Just bringing back the little joke that was passed around. Sorry.
I want to look up. Oh no, he's not in the database. He's not in the database.
But
yeah, that's kind of why I'm excited to see Oos at Summer League, just to see if his approach has changed at all. I don't, if he goes out there and shoots 10 for 20 from 3, I'm not going to be like, oh my gosh, Oos is a shooter now. This is so great. So I don't really care, and it's not like his shot was so broken that I think is
good. It's pretty smooth.
Yeah. It's not like I think his form's going to be significantly different. So it's not that. It's more just I want to see what he does when he has the ball in his hands going towards the rim.
Mm-hmm.
And hopefully, he gets some more opportunities to initiate offense in Summer League. I mean, if not now, when? So I do think it's a pretty big Summer League for Usman. I think he could potentially show us some stuff that matters. And that's why he's the only guy I really care about.
Yeah. I mean, and Jang has been in OKC this whole time working hard.
Yeah, I saw he did. He was doing some volunteer work.
Did some volunteer work.
Cares.
I mean, he's going to get a chance, definitely. And certainly with them drafting a guard, that just keeps the minutes open for him, which I think is good. We also just have to realize, though, if if they hit on J-Dub, Jang, and Kason, like it's almost unheard of
Break them up.
in the draft for them to hit on all three.
Yeah, I know, but we're at that point where we imagine them all hitting, because why wouldn't they all hit? Why would you draft them if they're not going to hit?
Yeah, I know. I'm not saying that they won't. I'm not saying that they won't hit. I'm just saying that, like, just to keep in mind.
Oh, for sure. Like, I can't imagine being a Rockets fan right now, and you look at just the level of like high lottery talent on that roster, and the excitement around every single one of those picks.
Oh yeah.
And then you throw in someone like Şengün who's taken at 16. Like, if you're a Rockets fan, of course you're assuming that they're all going to hit. Why would you not assume that? But we know that, a number of those guys probably aren't going to work out long term. But right now, you look at that roster and it's like, that is an insane roster just in terms of young talent.
Yeah. It really is. I talked about it with Vicini, that's why and back to our earlier conversation, like, don't screw this up, but they're going to screw it up.
They've probably done the most BPA rebuild I've ever seen.
No question.
Every single pick has been BPA, and they're obviously like throwing it all together, and they're going to ask Udoka to figure it all out. But I can't knock the approach, because it was very similar to what we were suggesting the Thunder do back in the day.
Yeah, I was going to say, it's almost exactly what we would have done given the opportunity.
Absolutely.
To draft.
It's almost like a team drafted by Twitter, where like you just take the most obvious talent, like in every single instance. Maybe like Jalen Green is the one, because there were a lot of people that wanted Mobley at that spot. But like outside of that spot, like Jabari was an obvious pick. I think this year, Amen was a pretty obvious pick by the time we got to it. Cam Whitmore, obvious pick.
Oh, so fell into their laps.
So, but point taken, it's entirely possible that Us just doesn't work out. And I think if he doesn't work out, the reasons will be pretty like understandable. Like, if he doesn't develop a shot, it's going to be very difficult for him. And if he doesn't develop some type of more consistent physicality, it's going to be very tough for him. Yeah. Even though he is very skilled and he is very tall, like eventually he has to do something else with those skills. Yeah. And so let's see what he does in Summer League. I think this is a good setting and a good opportunity for him, and he'll get a little bit more of run. I mean, he only played, what did he play? 569 minutes last year.
Yeah.
You know who I was comparing him to? I actually compared his stats. This isn't going to make you happy. This isn't going to make anyone happy. I compared him to rookie Bays.
Mm-hmm.
Closer than you would think. The main points of difference between them is Us was such a better finisher. So Bays shot 43% from 2-point range as a rookie. 43%. Us shot 60%. That's a huge difference.
That makes me feel better.
Yeah. In Bays' favor, he shot 35%, as we all remember, from 3 as a rookie. Yeah. Us shot 27%. Yeah. The one thing that does scare me, but we just still don't have enough data, is Us's touch. Especially on a lot of these floaters or these little push shots. And then you look at his free throw percentage. But even going back to the NBL, like, he has maybe shot a total of like 60 free throws between his rookie season and what he did in the NBL. Like, he's barely gotten to the line. Now, when he has gotten to the line, he's shot like 65%. And so it worries you a little bit, but he also just hasn't taken a ton.
23 free throws in 39 games.
Yeah. One of probably the biggest difference, and this is probably the clearest differentiation between like old Thunder and new Thunder. Bays played double the minutes as a rookie of Us. He played over 1,100 minutes. He had 41 assists. Us had 46 assists in half the minutes. And pretty good assist to turnover ratio too, compared to Bays. So yeah, in retrospect, there's actually a lot of differences between these two guys. Their basic counting stats look relatively similar, but they just weren't getting a lot of minutes at that point. And I do think it's notable that when you look at the on-off numbers, like, the Thunder were a positive when Us was on the court last year.
That's positive.
Now, flip side of that is 2 years ago, Poku had like the most ridiculous on-off numbers. The team was so positive when he was on the court. It was like, what is happening? And that was before he was like really playing well either.
Yeah.
Like he was starting to play well. But then he comes in last year playing way better, and his on-off numbers are miserable. So I'm not like putting a ton of stock either way. But it's better than it being like a -14 when he's on the court. I think they were a +3 when Us was on the court last year.
Yeah. Yeah,
So-
I don't know. I would do nothing with the on-off numbers.
I just did.
I would do nothing. I would do nothing with them. I just don't think that they mean a whole lot. And like I feel that way too, just from trying to ask Mark about it during the season, is where like when I ask him about it, he'll just say words that just make me feel really dumb for even bringing it up.
You can't trust him, Andrew. You can't trust him. He's not going to reveal the secrets, and the secrets are that on-off is the greatest.
Is the only way. Hey, Sam Amick's evil twin, Sam Amico, is reporting that the Cavs are open to trading Darius Garland.
Yeah, I just saw that and didn't believe it.
That just can't be true. That has to be Amico just like guessing from what the Windhorse stuff was and just like throwing something out there.
Yeah, I mean, it does feel like there could be something with the Cavs. It feels like Jared Allen is more where something could happen.
Yeah.
That wouldn't shock me, but yeah.
Garland would be shocking. Shocking.
Yeah, depending on what they got back, I guess. I don't know.
Garland is a really, really good guard.
What if they traded him for another really, really good guard, Andrew?
Like who?
That's too hard on the spot. I can't think of anyone off the top of my head.
Yeah. Don't trust Amico.
Here's what I saw.
If his name was like Sam, I don't know, Sam Davis, I bet you he'd have half the Twitter followers and like wouldn't get his reports put in. But because his name sounds so much like a legitimate reporter, he just gets thrown in there.
Well, so he reported, but also this guy named John Fanta.
Who's John Fanta? Head of the Fanta Cola Company?
No, he's CB college basketball on Fox.
Oh, yeah.
Cleveland.
This guy was at the draft.
Oh, was he really?
He was like doing like the on the stage show for the draft. No, I didn't have a clue who he was.
Okay, so that guy also reported that Garland was available. So we don't know if Amico just took it from John.
He may have taken it from Fanta.
But yeah, either way, I'm not trusting that as slop.
I'm not either. Yeah, I'm not either.
They'd have to get such an incredible return.
It seems illogical.
Because they're not even at the point where, like, imagine Houston saw that and they were like, oh, I would like Darius Garland. That'd be awesome. He's like a young veteran, but he's still like kind of on our timeline.
Yeah.
Cleveland is not at the point where they want to take back young players. Like you're basically trading to get another version of Darius Garland.
Yeah.
Like I would understand, and I do understand, like maybe they don't think the backcourt of Garland and Mitchell is like perfect in terms of the fit. And so they want another option. I just don't know who that would be.
Yeah. I don't know. What if
should the Thunder go get him? You said you don't care about if they have 15 guards on the roster.
Sure.
Okay. Andrew's in favor. How cool do you think it is that basically two of the guys that a certain segment of the Thunder population wanted the Thunder to go after have already been removed off the board?
Who's that?
Well, John Collins.
Oh yeah, no, that's
one.
great, wonderful.
And then who's the other power forward? I already forgot.
I don't know.
There was another guy. There was another guy.
Oh, Naz Reid?
Yeah, Naz Reid. Yeah,
Oh, it's great. Oh, it's wonderful. I was so glad when I saw the Naz Reid news because
just to shut people up.
Just please stop talking about it because it's never going to happen in the first place.
Yeah.
So please don't do it now. What about Garland for Paul George?
Yeah, if you're the Clippers, do it in a second.
Yeah, do it in a second.
Don't even think. Throw in an extra pick to get him to do it quicker.
Throw in some picks. Yeah. I wouldn't do that if I were Cleveland.
No.
Yeah. Okay. Anything else? I know you gotta go.
No. There's. I mean, I'm very excited for Summer League, but it's mostly to see the rookies and to see Oos. Oh, by the way, who do you think assisted Oos the most last season?
J-Dub.
Wrong. Guess again.
Giddy.
Wrong. It was Trey Mann.
Trey Mann. Oh, weird. Yeah. Oh, I guess that makes sense with bench lineups.
It does kind of make sense, but now you think like you put Case on in that place.
Yeah.
That's probably going to help Oos.
Better passer.
Better
Case
passer. Better director of offense.
Better hair.
Sure.
It's debatable. Did you listen to McKellar on Monday at all?
Yeah. I think so.
What did you think about our Micic trades?
I mean, I think they were realistic.
Yeah.
I think that is you're in the range of what I'm actually expecting.
Okay. Yeah, there were some people that weren't very happy with me.
Yeah, I mean, to be fair, it's probably our fault.
Yeah, probably so.
Because
I wanted to dial it back.
talking about him for 3 summers about how good he is.
I wanted to dial it back a little bit with with the hype. I still think they could. I mean, they could take him on and just like sign him and bring him in, and then you could trade him at the deadline, even.
Yeah, for sure. I'm not expecting a lot, but I'm also thinking that this offseason is going to be pretty boring OKC wise. I mean, I think they already have 15 guys on the roster.
Yeah, I would expect it to be boring because what realistically would you expect them to do?
Well, and that's why like we have to hold on to the Micic thing because it's like the one chance we have to get some slop that's relevant to our team.
Yeah, I think that's all we got coming at us is some kind of Micic trade. I really tried to take the Thunder fan base out at the knees by mentioning a Keon Ellis for Micic trade.
I think you took McKellar out. With that one.
that was probably the most absurd one. Is talking about a guard from Florida Southwestern State College
that you love.
I love. He did play for Alabama too, but I actually do like him. I think he can play. Tyler Nevin says Lindy's team option is tomorrow. Exciting stuff.
Okay, that'll be something.
That will be interesting. I don't think that even if they pick it up, I don't necessarily think that it means he'll necessarily make the roster, but it just
because it's all non-guaranteed anyways, right?
Yeah, it just pushes everything back a little bit. I do think Bertans, it makes it harder for Lindy to get minutes with Bertans on the roster, just because Bertans basically does like some of the same stuff.
Yeah.
And I think you want to keep Bertans around.
Well, this is an interesting question. Who, if they were both available, it's from Reed Wallach, who I follow on Twitter. If they were both available, who would get the bigger trade package back? Damian Lillard or Darius Garland?
That is a good question. I think Lillard is a lot better than Garland, but Garland is like, I think you can have team control for longer. He's younger. You could build around him a little bit. I think there would be more teams interested in Garland than Dame because
for sure.
33. So you might be able to get a little bit more.
Wow, his 5-year deal starts next year.
I know, that's what I'm saying. Like you got team control for a really long time.
Yeah.
And he doesn't cost as much. I think there's just a lot more value with Garland overall. But if you are, it just depends. What position are you in? Are you trying to win the title in the next 2 years? Then it's Dame like 100%. Are you trying to build something over the next 3 years to like maybe get there? by the third year, then it's obviously Garland. Because
Yeah,
in
like
3 years, game is 36.
Draft deeper brought up Cavs, Magic, Raptors, Jazz. Like, yeah.
Magic would be awesome for Garland.
I wonder if the Raptors. Okay, so if you're the Raptors, you actually could have some like win now pieces for Cleveland that would actually make a lot of sense for Cleveland.
Yeah. It's just like, are they willing to take the risk on like guys that are expiring?
Yeah, that's true. They don't have to resign them.
That's the trouble. It's like
that's the pickle.
Do you get word? Because I think they would have enough success next year for like Siakam. I just wouldn't do that. Like, I just wouldn't do it. Like, it's just way too risky. The team control stuff is all like worth it alone to just keep him. I think that's goofy. That's like just straight up goofy.
A goofy movie.
You get back to the playoffs for the first time since LeBron, and your first move is to trade your second best player.
They're antsy.
Why would you do that? Especially when like Evan Mobley is developing in the background of all of this. I would just guess it is not going to happen.
I would agree with that.
Just not going to happen. But yeah, it's fake slop. It's like on Hook where they have the invisible slop in front of them, and they're just trying to eat it. You know,
that's offensive to call that slop. That was like the most. I still have dreams about that meal.
I'm talking about pre the imagination kicking in.
Oh, pre the imagination.
Yeah.
Okay. Because the actual meal
is like
bomb,
real slop. But before that, when Peter's like not getting it, and like they're just eating air, that's the Darius Garland rumor. There's nothing there.
All right, I have to go.
Okay, Alex has got to go. Thanks so much for listening to our podcast. We'll have another show on Friday. We got Summer League coming up. We're gonna have content coming at you from Vegas next week. I'll be in Vegas next Friday. So look for that. You guys have an awesome day, and we'll talk to you guys again on Friday.